Hello and welcome to Dad's Job. This is your host Adam Leatherbarrow and I'm joined by Callum Horton this week. How are we doing, Cal? How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you? You been all right?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I'm finally glad that the working week is over and we can have an extended Christmas break now, which is good. So yeah, it's been a long year.
Yes,
What about
yeah.
yourself? You packed up for school yet? Are you on your school holidays?
No, not yet. I got one more day. So, what have you finished for
Yeah,
the year?
I'm finished. I'm finished, but I'm going to Amsterdam tomorrow. That's my last
Oh
official
yeah,
working day.
yeah. I forgot that. Yeah, still a little work to do away in it. It's all right for some. How long are you
Yeah,
away for?
just 24 hours. Not even that, I don't think. I think we fly at 11 o'clock in the morning and then we fly back 11 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah,
Oh,
it should be. We was having a chat about it today and we said there's so many red flags, mate. Like, we're not looking forward to it at all. Like, we're just looking at each other and we're thinking, no, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. But yeah, we've got just, I think the main thing is we've got to get up in the morning and then get the flights back to England. So I just want to get home in one piece. That's all I want to do. Have a beer, get
just
home.
you just want to get home, mate, because you might get stuck over there.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
God,
it.
no, sod
What
that.
with my history of trespassing stadiums, I don't particularly want to get arrested in Amsterdam, so I might try and
No.
avoid the stadium tour this week. Um, but yeah, yeah, we're joined this week. Obviously, you can tell that Rob's not here. He's doing a daddy daycare where he's taking his wonderful family to go see the Christmas Carol at Panto. So yeah, so that'll be it for. There's no Rob for the rest of this year. You'll probably see him in the new year, or you will see him in the new year. But we're joined by a special guest, someone that is very Christmassy, very West Ham. It is DJ Russ Budden. How are we doing, Russ? How are you getting on?
Very, very well. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm match fit, so I'll be able to hopefully.
You've done your star jumps.
I've
You've
done my
warmed
star
up on the
jumps.
sideline.
Yeah, I've had me Mars bar and can of Diet Coke, a la Gillian Dixie's warm up. So yeah,
Did you have
I'm all
a
good.
bath?
Yeah, hot bath. Put my shoe boots on. Never understood that how he fucking got away with that. But anyway, but yeah, very well, mate. Hope you're well and looking forward to it. Obviously, Christmas. You couldn't do a Christmas episode without me, so I'm here.
No, that's it. And you got your puddings out as well, which is great.
Out for the boys, yeah. But you obviously can't see it because you're watching it on audio only podcast. I love Christmas. No, I love Christmas because it means, like, literally, I have, and I'm not joking, a different Christmas top probably every day of December. So it's brilliant. I don't have to think about what to wear or anything. I just get up, put it on, and off I go. It's great. Great. And plenty of West Ham ones. Sorry, Callum. Plenty of West Ham tops as well. It's sort of a stock thing for easy present for me from the missus.
No, I'm more impressed that you got a top for each day. I mean, I thought I was the only one who was like that. I when I worked at my old school, I would have a top for each day. Now where I work, I've got to wear a tie for each day, so I'm trying to work on that. But to have a top for each day, I'm well impressed. Someone who's got a love of Christmas. I'm right. I'm
Mate,
right up for it tonight.
Chris, my outside decorations were out on the 10th of November.
I drove past your house actually
wow.
at the weekend, and I saw the big bear.
You can't fucking miss it with an 8-foot teddy bear outside.
That and the Ironworks food banks sign right stuck outside.
That's sort of only there so the wife doesn't think like we're crazy as a family. People walk past, she'll just shout, say it's for charity.
Yeah.
So there's a QR code. Yeah, exactly. It's not because I'm fucking like a little kid, like bloody Griswold Family Christmas.
Oh, great! What film? What a segue! Yeah, it's great. So for our listeners, Russ, could you just introduce yourself? Because obviously I'm familiar with your game. Callum's slightly familiar with your game, but those that haven't heard about you, they're probably living in a hole. But please describe yourself and what you do.
So I do a lot, but in my spare time I run in my spare time. What is it, spare time? So I do a West Ham YouTube channel called West Ham Network with myself and another dad and another mum. There's three of us, we're all parents. And then match days, I'm the West Ham DJ. So I play all the music. So when you're watching it on, I don't know, Match of the Day or whatnot, and you hear I'm throwing blow bubbles, that's me. I normally plays that. And then I also do it the match day announcing and music for the under 21s, under 18 games as well at Brush Green, or at Dagenham Redbridge. So yeah, busy boy. And then I've got a full-time job as well, on top. So, and then I'm a dad as well, and I'm a husband, and a cook, and a cleaner, and a candlestick maker. So
Well, you're actually a director at your firm, aren't you, in your full-time job?
Yeah, so I'm busy. Yeah, I'm a new business director for a market research company. So that's been something that I've done all my life since I left uni. Just got into market research for some reason, and sort of never got out of it. Like a lot of people do, they don't necessarily choose the profession they want to be in. They just end up being in that profession. So that's the one which took me for some reason. Don't know why.
So what's your family setup? Obviously, you touched on your wife not very happy with your Christmas decorations being that case, but what is your setup at the moment?
So I'm in terms of my family, so there's myself, my wife, my daughter Flo, who's 12 going on 21, and the dog Bella. So 3 women and me. And the mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law, in all honesty, she'll move in on Monday and will move out probably about the 2nd or 3rd of January.
Okay.
But she only lives like 5 minutes down the road. So, yeah, looking forward to that.
Russ, how many TVs you got indoors?
How many TVs? Well, that's why I started doing YouTube, basically. So I started doing YouTube because of lockdown, and mother-in-law moved in, and I thought, fuck this, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and so I did. So we were fortunate enough to have a summer house room thing built at the bottom of the garden, sort of the March before lockdown, and so that's where I basically spend my time. Yeah, so we've got the house is enough, so we've all got the mother-in-law's got the front room. I had to sort of add a few extra subscriptions to Netflix, so if I want to watch The Office, I can watch The Office. I don't have to go in because she's watching some 1950s drama. So it's all right. We I've been married. We'll be married on the 28th of December. That'll be our 13th year. So yeah, we've found our way, but that's why I started doing YouTube. Was just got an excuse to just fucking walk down to the bottom of the garden. So it's worked out quite well. Yeah, they like it. They like the fact that when we're randomly walking in, I don't know, Hornchurch, Sainsbury's or something like that, and some bloke will come up to me and go, "Hello, Russ," and start talking to me, and then Flo will say, "Who's he?" I have no fucking idea, but he knows me, and I know him for those 2 minutes. No, it's really funny. It is really funny. The best one was in Orlando. It's the funniest one ever. We was in.
You got recognised in Orlando.
Yeah. So it was in 2 years. 2 years ago, we did Christmas in Florida. So we went out on the 20. I think we went out the 18th or 19th and came back the 3rd of Jan. Just did it all. New Year's, all Disney, New Year's and Christmas and New Year and Disney. And we went out with some friends and we were walking through our hotel at Disney, Art of Animation. We were walking through past, through the pool area, and there's a bloke playing ping pong. And literally he just dropped, all I could hear was the bat dropping behind me. And he shouted out, "Fuck, Russ! Oh my God, DJ RUSSY B!" And he comes running over, this bloke, guy called Christian. I sort of afterwards found it. He went, "Mate, I knew you were coming. I knew you were over, and I didn't think I'm going to see you. You've made my fucking year." And I was like, "Fucking hell, Jesus Christ!" An overweight, balding 40-year-old. Yeah, you're in Disney. You're at Christmas, mate, and I've made your year, but it made everyone laugh. It is quite funny.
Russ, are you missing the part of the story where you've got your football shirt on with RUSSY B on the back, so everyone knew?
No, someone may. Where's my phone? Someone may be this though. So someone may be that. I don't know where. It's DJ RUSSY B. I just get random things with it. That was quite sweet. Someone made that. I just get random things in the post, but no, good. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and as I said, for getting to interview lots of ex-players and stuff, which we'll probably talk about in a bit. And it's a strange world now. I live where I were 3 or 4 years ago to where I am now. Sort of the 12-year-old boy would have been pinching himself in terms of sort of the access I get. not through working through West Ham, but through the YouTube channel, to some players who are, mates now. We are mates, which is really weird. Really weird.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I mean, like, how did you get into DJing in general?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. So I was at uni and I emailed the guy who was the announcer at the time, a guy called Jeremy Nicholas. So I was thinking about becoming a sports journalist, and I asked him for some advice, and he said, "Oh, come and be my runner at Talk Sport." He was at Talk Sport at the time, and I thought, yeah, that's great. That'd be a great experience. I'd come down. I was only at Loughborough, so I was only about an hour and a half down the road. I'd come down for the weekends anyway for football at West Ham anyway.
He was the former announcer, wasn't he?
So he and that was the year that we got the West Stand got built, the Rio stand. And so then he got sacked. Then he got sacked from TalkSport, and then he said, "Oh, well, come and give me a hand at West Ham," because the announcer used to literally have a little porter cabin on stilts by the pitch side. But now, because of the new stand, he was moved up to basically between the Bobby Moore and the police, where basically next to the police control room, where there was a scoreboard between the West Stand and there was he was basically there, and he couldn't do pitch and run up and down, and said, "Come and give me a hand," and that was it. That was it. And then 23, 24 years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's just, and it's just a strange, bizarre thing I never take for granted. Even during, as I said, through lockdown, I was at the games. I watched all the games live at the stadium. I was part of the couple of hundred who could go there because we were still playing all the music and all the shit like that as well. So, very, very privileged to do what I do. Very privileged.
The very interesting. Go on, Carol. Just ask this. The very interesting thing about you being in the London Stadium during COVID as well is that when you go there as a spectator, you look up and that's the only box that's up on that stand, isn't it? There's no other hospitality boxes or media boxes or whatever. So you're in your own little pod, aren't you?
Yeah.
In that thing. Tell the listeners what's so special about that pod in its position in that stadium.
So that pod is what's called, and it's still sometimes referred to as the finishing line pod. So that was basically where the finishing line was for the London State, for the athletics, for the Olympics. And next to it, there's a massive steel structure, which is there's nothing on it. There's probably about 60 grand's worth of steel, because they built it to house the finishing line camera. So when they do the dead heat camera. But what I didn't realise was when it was fine when they built it when it was empty, but as soon as they put 80,000 people in there, it would shake. So they couldn't get a decent shot on it. So it was totally redundant. And actually now when, it's in essence a soundproof box. And the only way I can hear, obviously I can go outside and listen, but when I know if the crowd's really up for it, or there's a real some of the European nights and things like that we've had, you can feel it sway, which probably doesn't sound very good for the foundations of the London Stadium. But it's very, very bizarre, and it's fucking long way. It's a fucking long way up. If you want to go for a wee, I'm 43, so my bladder isn't what it was, and I'm up there for about 2-3 hours straight. If I need a wee, I've got to plan it, because you've got to go down the stairs. It's a long load of stairs. Then you have to go for one, then come back up the stairs, and there's a good 100 steps either way. So it's it's an arduous task just to go for a piss there.
Go on, Cal. Sorry.
Yeah, Russ. I was going to say. Obviously, you said you've been doing it 23 years. I know obviously you've done the West Ham games, but I was just wondering, because obviously they've had other events there and other games there. I remember. I think. I don't want to kill the question I'm going to ask, but I know Messi played there for a period of time. He played for, I'm sure, Argentina in a game. I don't know if you managed to do that game, but
we did. So we did the Messi game. We did the Argentina game. We did. England played there. I think it was. Francis Jeffers had his debut there. I think it was Rooney's debut as well.
Rooney's debut,
yeah. And we went there. I went there basically because it's an England game, and we ended up doing the second half because the England bloke fucked off and went home. So I got an international call up, basically.
Wow.
But the rest, no, like when like the side, because London Stadium, we only really rent for the West Ham games because we don't own it, do we? So when the Sidemen play there, or they had Spain, Colombia there, I think last year,
right, yeah.
They get their firming. They get the firming to do that. So we don't do anything else. We just do the West Ham games. But at Upton Park, occasionally we'd be sort of drawn across, or Nigeria versus someone was a random game as well. They used to do these strange international games where they could probably get a couple of quid for renting the stadium out. But no, anything else.
Played there as well, didn't they? Because Glenn Johnson was in that squad.
We did.
Funny enough.
We did the under-21s. I remember doing that one because again they don't really have an under-21 announcing team, so to speak. They just use the club that wherever they've used. So it's a strange thing when it's not your club. Like we did like Argentina, and we had to make sure we played the fucking right national anthem and all that, and because you don't want to start another Falklands or whatever at the time. So it's but anything else outside now, so like I remember like when it was at Upton Park, they used to have I think Billy Mitchell fought there as well a couple of times, boxing and stuff like that. So when there's like concerts, I never really I could have probably done it at Upton Park, sneak in, because it's quite easy to sneak in at Upton Park with a pass, but London Stadium's a bit of a different beast. Yeah, so I can't really. We've all done it.
I used to work in the Castle Suite and as a barman, so I used to have my pass. I used to just walk in on non-match days and just used to go in and like say I was help bottling up or whatever, but I used to get like a free reign. But my old man used to be on the security as well in the Bobby Moore stand, so he used to look after the Hammerettes as we as I touched on in a chat in one of your streams. But I say I loved Upton Park for what it was, but obviously you've got to move with the times, haven't you? And you've got to expand, and if you want to compete with the likes of Arsenal, you need a stadium big enough to house that crowd, haven't you? So
you do. And it was it was falling apart. It needed a lot of work to it if you ever wanted to make it the stadium that you wanted it to be, and just the infrastructure as well. I think people, sometimes we get a bit rose-tinted glasses about everything, and people forget you had to, if the district line was down, you had to trudge all the way to Barking or go to Stratford and just pissed it down and queuing up outside. I think London Stadium. If one line's down, you can do another. It's so accessible now. It's just I think some people just because it was not Upton Park, basically.
Yeah. That was the thing with like the Upton Park station, is that they could have like the C2C runs past it anyway, so they could have just opened up a C2C platform on that station. But obviously you can't get away from that queue that was always outside of that station running all the way back to Plaistow. So I remember that getting into the holes in the fence and being chucked out by older fans just trying to be cheeky or whatever. But so obviously with you running your channel, your West Ham network with Anton and Holly. Holly's been on the show. I interviewed her for about her experience as a mum now. So you interview players, ex-professional West Ham players. So what's it like interviewing people that you've watched growing up? Really, I suppose.
Weird. It's really weird. It's really weird. It's really bizarre. It was, as I said, when I started doing my own channel on my own, it was something that I thought I could do, but it was a very, very bizarre thing. We've had probably about over 100 ex-players on the channel. Everyone from someone like Brian Deere, who won the Cup Winners' Cup in the 1960s, all the way to probably the most recent one is probably Pedro Obiang, maybe. Yeah, and everyone in between. So it's strange. It's bizarre. It's a really weird sensation, and obviously, I never take anything for granted. I always try and drag Anton along as well, because it's something that he has never really experienced. In all honesty, obviously, there's a few players he knows very reasonably well, but we had Slaven Bilic on the other day before he was on TalkSport and Sky Sports and everywhere else. He was excluded on us first. And
he was great. I must admit, he opened up so many different things. Like that thing he said about Declan Rice, where obviously that going into an Arsenal thing, we could talk about Declan Rice now because we've got someone that now supports him, whereas we curse him. But he was saying about the difference of how, in comparison to him and Reece Oxford, where Declan Rice was just more physically, mentally switched on, but physically capable of warranting that space in terms of that. He said that he was just a bit of a freak when he at academy level, and very, very well brought up around how important it was to have influential people around you that you can rely on. Whereas Reece didn't, it's quite interesting how two players played in the same position had different directions.
Totally right. It's a debate I'm having at the moment on the channel, and I think we've got, as I said, I believe I think football fans in general have this sort of utopian view of youth team or play kids in their academy. Darren's an example. He was one who was going to be the next big thing, and as I said, I think it was 97% of people who are in the Premier League academies never play a minute of Premier League football, and yet we're bombarded that we have to play the academy. And actually, if the players, they have to be extra special now to get. You couldn't just. I don't think we'd throw on a Freddie Sears nowadays at West Ham. I don't think. No disrespect, I love them all. We've interviewed like Elliot Ward would probably get as much football now as he would done in 2004-2005 season at West Ham, and I think they have to be extra special, because I think we had Tim Breaker on and Patsy Holland. Patsy I think he still scouts for Arsenal. I still see him at the Rush Green games quite often, and they said, you can spend ages bringing these kids through and developing them, or you can go to France and buy someone for £5 million who's got 50 Liga appearances under his belt already. Lenny Euro, for example. Yeah, Lenny Euro, they spent, how much did Man United spend on him? And relatively, 18, 19-year-old lad, they've probably got kids in their academy who could do that role, but they're not physically ready. And that's the issue now, is that I don't think, at West Ham, Lewis Orford pisses on Thomas Souček in passing, skill, technical ability, but Thomas Souček would have him for lunch on the Premier League pitch.
Yeah,
and that's the issue. And then you fuck the kids up if you play them too early. You fuck them up. Look at Mipo Odebeko. Moyes put him on for that game against Man United away. Took him off within 20 minutes because he wasn't ready. Wasn't physically ready.
He was
his career.
Player as well, wasn't he? That's where we got him from. Yeah, and they thought, we'll bring him on to kind of have a bit of a psychology behind it, and it ate him alive, didn't it? That was the end of it.
We had Sebastian Leggett on, who's one of our great lads at Seb was. He's I think he's still at he's obviously did LA Galaxy. I think he played for LAFC as well over MLS, and he said, he was part of that group. He made one appearance at West Ham, and that was when Big Sam put all the kids out when they lost 5-1 to Forest. Yeah, and he said that basically fucked up my life. And every kid's dream is to play, first team football, but you got to play at the right time.
There was a load of youngsters in there that were just thrown to lambs to the slaughter, weren't they? Like you had George Moncur. Again, like the Moncur family, I'm related to, and to see George go on, I thought, great, like he's going to start, he's going to make an impression, and it was just like, well, hang on a minute here, like it ruined him. Another one was Danny Whitehead, wasn't it? Is it Dietmar Hamann was a big fan of him at Stockport or something, and he recommended him to West Ham, and that again just ate him, didn't it? And I think that's something that just can't be done anymore now. Like I think West Ham have learnt from that. I think Sam used that to kind of encourage the board to make signings, wasn't it? And because it's saying like the squad isn't deep enough, so we're using these youngsters that ain't good enough. So, but it just ruined a lot. He ruined a lot of careers at West Ham.
He did. And I think that's the great thing about interviewing these players, is you find out a bit more about what goes under the bonnet, and a lot of the stories they tell that I've never known, I've never heard of. Very, very fortunate to have interviewed lots of players that I grew up. As I said, I was an early 90s kid. So the likes of Ian Bishop, Pete Butler, Timmy Breaker, Stevie Potts. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to kind of work for Steve Potts and Kenny Brown and people like that. At the youth, it's mental. It's crazy. It's like the other week we went out. We had an ex-player night, and I'm in Yates's with Jimmy Walker. Like 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, and it was like,
that's the worst Yates's ever, isn't it?
It's the worst Yates's ever. But we were at the Russ Club, so it's like there's not much. It's either that or that junk box, if it's called. I don't know what it's called, but it's just honestly, it's like I remember once. I think because when you used to plug you plug your phone in and you get your Apple CarPlay and you see who you've just phoned, and it's got like your late, and it's like again like me who was like a 12-year-old boy, and it's like you've got Harry Redknapp, Stuart Slater, and people we've I've just had a chat with or whatever. It's mental. It's mental. It's amazing, but it's mental. And actually, everyone's there, and I've never had an interview where I've walked to on going, oh, he's a bit of a bastard. Never. Everyone's been so safe and we've never paid for anyone. They've all done it out of their own time. And yeah, it's an arse logistically, as you well know. When you're booking in guests and things like that, it's an arse because you've got to sort of lean to what their schedule is rather than fit into your schedule. And some of them like Bobby Zamora. It took me 3 years to get Bobby, and literally I was messaging him probably every other week, and then he just texts me back once. Yeah, I can do it today. I can do it at 2 o'clock if you want. Literally, I had to stop everything because I know I'm not going to get a chance for another year to probably get him on the channel.
That's right. Have you interviewed any ex-Arsenal players that have played for West Ham?
Let's think.
Just trying to involve Callum here because he's got.
Yeah, no.
No. Listen, I've had loads of questions to ask, but because obviously it's just nice to hear, stories ultimately. This is why we want people like you on. It's because it's giving you a chance just to talk and tell the stories that and people you've met and their stories and so on and so forth. But I mean the only thing I was going to say about the youth team players is I know you mentioned about ruining players, but it's that fine balance, isn't it? It's that if you don't throw them in or you don't get them to play at some point, then you're never ever going to know. Then you end up having a squad player that never plays and that you just he's on 5-6 grand a week, and he's there for training, but ultimately you've got to throw him in to see if he can sink or swim. And I think it's about having the right people around the squad, and that could be senior players, who pull them in. I know, a lot of the young Arsenal players, they spoke about, the Vieiras, the, Tony Adams. Vieira talks about Tony Adams, about, what sort of leadership role he had and the impact that he had, and also obviously the manager as well. But it's about who you have in the changing room that will support these boys if they do, sink and bring them round, or like as you say, it's going to define the rest of their career. I think the club's set up right, and that's not just the external management around it, but also the players within it. That's where you're going to get the benefit of your youth team players. Otherwise, what's going to happen is what you've just said. We go and poach a player from France for 5 million, but then you're killing the English game, where you're not going to have these players to break through.
You're totally right. I mean, you're totally right. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It's like when guys get guys into will they sink or swim, and I think the trouble is now. I think football is so. I think there's a real issue with personality in football now. I think that it's very sterile. It's very statistic based. Anyone with a personality is vilified, really. Whereas back in the day, all the best players were the ones who were the personalities. Even sort of the mid-90s, you've got to think like the Vieira versus Keane battles and things like that. You don't get them anymore now.
Cantona, Ian Wright.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ricey, Cantona. We had. I'm just going through. I think there's some fucking good players. I'm just looking for this list. I've forgotten. But you get like Neil Ruddock, like Razor Ruddock, and people like that, and that's
Vinnie Jones,
Ray Parlour.
Yeah, Vinnie Jones, Ray Parlour. I mean, there's a reason why these guys are still in the media are still on football programs and talk sports and things like that because they're still a personality and people want to listen to it. The ex-player nights at West Ham must be the same as the Arsenal ones as well. They sell out every week. Ian does E13 events. You've got Len at Maudeville Promotions. Every week they sell out. They do, and the stories don't fucking change. But people go because of it's Frank McAvenny or it's Tony Cottee
Tony
or
Gale.
or Tony Gale, and or maybe someone like Trevor Morley comes back from Sweden or Norway rather, and he does a night, and David Cross, and the stories don't fucking change. It's the same stories, and people go to the amount of times I've listened about Jimmy Walker saving a fucking penalty from Frank Lampard, it don't change, but I'd still go every Saturday, every match day. I'm still going and I still chat, because it's just nice blokes. Nowadays, I've said, I don't expect in 20 years' time me to walk down to the Cliffs or walk down to the Queen's Theatre and listen to an evening with Felipe Anderson, hosted by Sebastian Haller. There's no personalities now in football, and I think that's one of the issues. And so, that's where someone like Declan Rice stood out for me, because I used to see him under 18s. He wasn't the best player, was not the best player at all, but he was just had that John Terry leadership quality about him, which made him stand out. And then we never knew. I don't think we ever knew. Obviously, he was a centre half. Then we never knew he was going to become a CDM and be possibly one of the best. Well, he's one of the best midfielders in the country, if not the world. He's a fucking good player, and I was gutted he went. But he is. You don't get that nowadays, and I think that's with the kids as well. The same thing. It's like everyone. And I think, with the whole sort of team ethos, I totally agree, Callum. And actually, I like interviewing lots of ex-players who maybe didn't make as many appearances as they wanted to, or they might have never made an appearance. We interviewed a bunch from the guys who won the Youth Cup in 1999, when that was Joe Cole and Carrick, and these guys were part of that side.
And
but
Briggs as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But there's people like Bertie Brayley, Izzy Ickpen, Adam Newton. These guys went and had careers outside of West Ham, but never really made it at West Ham. And and it's fascinating hearing their stories, because every one of them's different. The same with fans. We interviewed loads of fans about why they become West Ham fans, and a lot of it is family, but some of it's random. A lot of it is we have Billy Horschel, the guy, the golfer, the American golfer. He's been on a good friend of ours, and he only became a West Ham fan because he watched Green Street and stuff like that. It's fascinating. I never thought it was like I came up with this concept, and I didn't think, and I thought I'd get 500 and that would be it. But it just grew and grew and grew, and then obviously I couldn't do it on my own, and then I sort of partnered up with Anton at the time, and then Holly came on board, and we got this sort of thing which is keeping us all busy, and it's a hobby. It's like what you guys do. It's a hobby, it's a pastime, but it's one which which is we're fortunate enough to do.
Russ,
Yes, mate.
Have you ever interviewed someone where you've gone, mate, that is a story everyone should listen to? Like you talk about characters, and you speak, you listen to people, and you go, mate, that your story deserves to be heard, or people could learn off your story. Like I work in education, and I always look at or try and listen out for people where you go, yeah, like my kids would benefit from that, or just like being a parent. To be fair, like sometimes I listen to people, and I listen to like Joe Cole to speak about Carrick and what a player he was, and that he just thought that was normal, and then he went to Chelsea, and it was like, oh, actually, this guy's passing range and whatever was just outstanding. And you sort of think, I want my kid to hear that sort of story. Or Van Persie talk about his son having a loser's mentality and being a winner's mentality. And I try and listen out to these things. Have you ever interviewed someone where you've gone, yeah, that should be heard? Do you know what I mean?
I reckon, honestly, I'll be honest, I reckon every interview, or 90% of the interviews, there's something which I've never heard, which is I found fascinating. We tend, I mean, Anton's nephew plays for, I want to say maybe Kilmarnock reserves. He's like 15. He's like a young lad. And so he always asks a question. If he's on, he always tends to ask a question about what advice would you give up and coming players or players looking to break into the first team and stuff like that. So that's always really interesting to hear. There's always stories, you know. I mean, the Slaven one last week, 2 weeks ago, there were stories there which, you know, I mean, from him himself as well. You know, obviously he joined at a time when it was going to be the last season at the Bowling, all that type of stuff, and I said to him, must have been, you know, an honour to do that. He went, it was a fucking nightmare. He says, the amount of pressure I had, he said, now I can look back at it, so it was lovely, but if I wish I'd never had it. Or, you know, he spoke about the story about Sullivan offering him Dimitri Payet and all these stories. And there's always one in each interview, a nugget, which if I had the time, I'd love to sort of sit there and just edit them all out and put that golden nuggets out. But there are some fascinating things, you know, and as you said, someone like, I mean, and Darren's story is always phenomenal. Listen, you know, I love listening to Darren's story. As I said, we had the Seb Leggett interview when he spoke about basically how Sam Allardyce ruined his life, and you know, everyone I'm looking through, you know, just looking at some of these guys like, you know, Michael Hughes, you know, who's a great little player for us, but incredible story in terms of, you know, moving to Strasbourg and then coming over. It literally is because we think we know the main sort of bullet points, but it's sort of filling those in to make a narrative. And there's some stories there. I always ask the story, you know, how did the move happen to West Ham and stuff like that. And I remember like Frank McAvenny told me the story, and he was literally in Luton's office going to sign for Luton Town, and the chairman slapped him on the back really hard. And he went, "Fuck that! I'm not signing for this club." And then left. And then John Lyall flew up to him and brought him down to London, and then the rest was history. Or there was a story, I think is a guy called Tom McAllister, who was a goalkeeper, who was basically sort of number 2 to Phil Parkes, basically. And so you're never going to get a game, to be honest. But John Lyall went up to him, and they were going to sign the contract, and John put him in, and they were in the car, and he just handed him a contract, and Tom went to sign it, and it was completely blank. And he went, "It's a blank contract, John." He went, I'll fill the rest in. You trust me." And he trusted him so much, he signed a blank contract and never told his wife about it. You know, so there's all these little stories which you've been really privy to listening to. And as I said, I prefer, honestly, interviewing guys who haven't played that many games, because their story is really interesting, because it's not about the goal against or it's usually about them struggling to get into the first team, thinking about what they're going to do with their life, their careers, what club they're going to go to. That to me is really interesting stuff. And as I said, I could probably one day, God forbid there was another lockdown, but if there was, I'd probably go through all of it and do a compilation, greatest hits. Now that's what I call West Ham interviews or something like that, because it just gets there's little nuggets, because each one of them's hilarious, and it might get lost.
Right. It's all right on the night sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But they might get lost in like an hour and a half interview, you know. So sort of highlighting those things would be really interesting to do.
Yeah,
you've never interviewed David Martin, did you? Or have you?
No.
I think that would be an interesting story, especially with like his old man and then obviously him coming from sort of lower leagues and then playing against Chelsea and having that win. I know I went to school with him and his brother, and what an incredible story to. I mean, he's just living the dream, you know, playing for the club your dad played for, and that. I mean, I know he had a decent career in the sense of the lower league stuff, but I think that would be an incredible story to hear. You know, what that must have been like to play against Chelsea and have the win, and
that's a movie script, really, isn't it? When you think about you're on your arse, and then you get that. It's the same for like the academy sort of side, isn't it? Like it's a sliding doors moment. Something happens for you to be given your chance. I was going to mention about Marcus Rashford getting his chance at Man United, because if Ashley Fletcher didn't go out on loan, Rashford would have never got that chance because he was the next. Ashley Fletcher was the next one to come in from that youth setup to step up to the senior squad, but he was out on loan, so they had to dip further down and get Rashford out, and that's how he broke on the scene. But yeah, like David Martin, I mean, like to sign for your boyhood club, the club you supported, your dad was a captain, and then you go and make your debut against Chelsea and keep a clean sheet. Like it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Like,
well, I think there's more to that story. I don't know if this is true, but from what I'm aware of, obviously, I know he played. You know, I think he played for Gillingham and a few other clubs.
That's right. Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I think that's right. Yeah. But from what I'm aware of, his career was coming to an end, and he was looking for a job, and his dad got him a job as this might be not true, but it's what I've heard, was that he got him as a job as a groundsman or something, and then something happened or something, and they asked him to do a bit of training or something, and then from that, he then obviously, I don't know if this is true, Russ, you might know a bit more, I might be telling absolute porkies, but this is what I've heard, is that basically he was getting a job as a groundsman there because obviously his career was coming to an end, they were just looking for some work, and then obviously I think someone got injured, and he was like, he plays in goal and stick him in, and then the next week whatever it was, he was playing against Chelsea.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I mean, football is a sliding doors moment. Yeah, you've got to have skill, but you've got to have that bit of luck. As you said, there's so many people in the game, and again, there's loads of times we've spoken to ex-players, and we've asked for their story, and it's either this way or this way. They were going to sign, or they might have, Frank Machiavelli might have signed for Luton Town instead of West Ham. And what would have happened? We wouldn't have had the boys of '86. And, there's always these sort of sliding moments, I think, where a player gets injured. Famously, the week before we played Liverpool in the Cup, we played Liverpool in the league, and we got Hayden Mullins. Yeah, and they got Louis Garcia. They didn't really.
I was there that game. I was absolutely gutted. Because I loved Hayden Mullins. Like he's one of my favourite ever underrated footballers ever. When I was there for his debut, when Trevor Brooking signed him from Crystal Palace. I say Trevor Brooking. I think Pardew signed him, but Brooking was in charge, and he played right back. And I think he got turned by Andy Reid against Nottingham Forest. And I remember it. And I was just like, you know what? He's a centre midfielder, and he moved there. And he was our best player. I think if he played the FA Cup final, we would have won that.
Yeah. I think he was that good. I remember like Hayden Mullins is one of those examples. You get them when we get the players to pick their 11s. So the ex-player or the manager has to pick the 11 from the players they played with at West Ham. So, when we had Joe Cole on, he had to pick from the two spells and put an 11 together, that type of thing. And everyone who's played with Hayden put him in their side. Like Zamo, Luke Chadwick put him at right back, and all these other players. And I remember asking Zamora that same question, because none of the West Ham fans would put him necessarily in the Air 11, really, or very few. And because they don't understand football properly. Hayden Mullins let me become top goal scorer at West Ham because he let me do my job, and he's getting
the team now. It knocked Alvarez out of the team, 100%. Like,
he knocked Javier Mascherano out the team, so he did all right then.
yeah, there is that. Callum's like, really? I was like, no, that did happen.
No, John, I love to hear when you hear, big players or what you think as big name players, and you talk about who's the most valuable player that you played with, and they come out with this sort of a player that you don't necessarily think as a big player, and they go, because he allowed me to do, and I just love it because it's ultimately it's someone doing their job for someone else to go and express themselves, and I think that's almost like everyone can relate to that in some way in their life. You in your workload, or you at home where you're grafting, so your son can go and do whatever, or your wife can. Do you know what I mean? There's times where you just do what you've got to do so other people can do what they've got to do, and I just think I just love it because it's like an unsung hero where you don't get the limelight or you don't think of him, but they value him so much more. I think that's special, isn't it? And when the player says that, especially like someone Bobby Zamora, who's had who's had a decent career, said something like that, I mean, it's the biggest accolade you can get in it, I suppose, as a senior, as a what's it called, fellow pro.
Yeah,
I love stories like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so we'll touch off football for a minute and talk about life as a parent, Russ. So tell us, what's life as a parent been like for you over the past 12 years? I'm sure it has its challenges of late with a young lady now, not so much a little girl.
It doesn't. I think the more challenges is the way that is sort of the acting like a diplomat, I think, between the wife and the daughter. They're two similar people. And so, very much you feel like you're a little bit in the middle, being peacemaker, or trying to not be seen to have one say when to be the parent and when to be the diplomat, and that's the challenge at the moment. Is she's coming into womanhood, and it's a challenge because it's where before it's whether she needs a bum wiped, whether she needs feeding, whether she needs, now it's like what type is different types of support, and I've always been seen to be the fun one. I'm the fun one. I'm the one who's, he wears the silly shirts and does the YouTube stuff. And whereas Joe's very much more the disciplinarian. And so, it's a challenge. It is a challenge. I think we've done well to circumnavigate. She's an only child. So she is spoiled. And maybe to some of our detriments, she's spoiled. She's fortunate in that her birthday is in the May half term, so she spent probably half her birthdays outside the country, because that's when we want to go away holiday. And that's itself was always. I come from a big family, and didn't really do me any help. In all honesty, there was a big period where I lost complete contact with all my brothers and sisters, and we've only just in the last sort of 3 years, sort of regained contact with the one. I'm the eldest, so the one below me and the one below him. They've become parents as well, so I think that's bonded us together a bit. So Flo's always been an only child. I think it's helped her in a weird way. So she's has to have quite a big personality. She has to make friends. She can't become just on holiday. She can't sit there with her brothers and sisters and play. So she's had to maybe become a little bit more grown up than maybe she should have been. But I think that will suit her in later life. My role at the moment is just basically being a fucking taxi driver, it seems. She's a musical theatre darling. So that's Mondays. Yeah, Monday she's in Basildon doing 3 hours. Tuesday she goes to the gym. Wednesday she's a day off. Thursday she goes singing lessons. Friday she goes to another musical theatre. Saturday she goes to another musical theatre, and Sunday she does her own work. So literally that's our life. And then I've got West Ham. So apart from that, there's not much. But it's a challenge. It is always a challenge, and and a lot of the guys at work, they're slightly younger than me, and they're starting to have kids, and they're asking for advice and shit like that. And I just said, the best bit of advice is don't take anyone's advice. Just do what Nike said and just do it. If you feel it's right, then do it. You're not a fucking idiot. Kids have come from a fucking. You see how the journey a kid has to get out, let alone to become a kid in the first place. They're fucking tough nuts. They are. As long as you're not a fucking idiot, and you're not an idiot, they got good jobs. They got a good head. You'll be fine. Who cares if you're fucking swaddling in that way or swaddling in that way? Do the one which thinks that works for you best, and that's what I've always lived by. Don't listen to anyone's advice, because you get contradictory advices. You get this one, and everything changes and shit like that. And but it is a challenge. It's a different challenge now. It's a challenge I like. She's a great age. She's a daddy's girl, and we have a father and daughter bond, which I know at times it infuriates my wife because we have similar personalities. We watch the same shows. She likes the same. She likes The Office, the American Office. She likes Friday Night Dinner. She likes all these programs that I like, and but she's doing well because she sort of still has that mum like maternal tendencies with Joe as well. So it's like a nice balance. But I know it fucks her off sometimes because I don't shout at her. She just gets ready, you know. And I'm like, well, she fucking would do that anyway. Just don't just shout at her every day. You know what I mean? It's never been my style. We sort of navigating through, and it'll change, and obviously it's going to come to a point where every month I want to fucking leave the house. You know, I've just got over Joe not doing any of that now.
You need another YouTube channel, Russ.
Exactly, yeah. Well, Joe's the other end of it now, so she's not. So you know, she doesn't get that cycle now. But now I've got fucking flow for the next God knows how many years. But yeah, it's every day brings a different challenge, doesn't it? A different challenge. They get older, and you know, and they're doing the homework, and the homework's not fucking drawing, you know, a flower. It's now talking about Christianity, or talking about, you know, the differences between this thing and this thing. And even I don't understand some of the maths she does, and I think I'm quite screwed on mathematically. But yeah, we're learning every day. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great.
How is she, as a 12-year-old girl, and how is she dealing with, like, I say it's a bit different now, isn't it? I'm just talking about like online sort of experiences, you know, like being on social media, and well, there's going to be a government law, a worldwide law, banning anyone under the age of 16 on social media now. But in terms, she must still have access to like Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, how does she relate to that in terms of?
Well, I think I
always feel there's a lot of pressure on kids nowadays to try and be on par with what they see online. You know, like, they change a hell of a lot.
There is, I mean, I've obviously, you know, a large part of my life I live on social media, so I would be hypocritical to distance her from away from it because it's part of the world now. I mean, she's now, same as your kids, you know, into a generation where they never had not the internet. They've always had the internet. There's always been social media. You know, they don't remember fucking. You know, my first mobile phone had 4 AA batteries in it, you know, and having dial up and, you know, that noise, you know, you couldn't watch any decent porn, you know, you had to wait for it to load when you was a kid. And so, yeah, we've all done it. Come on. That was a long time ago. But I've never shied, you know, exactly. I've never shied away from her and technology and social media and stuff because she's been exposed to it at a relatively, you know, young age, and I think because of that, there's a level of maturity there. You know, we're not one of these sets. I'm trying to think the best way to word it. I wouldn't take a phone off her and search through it, but she knows I could do, but I would never, because I understand. You know, she's a 12-year-old girl. I mean, she probably had her first phone when she was in the last year at primary school, because then she became an independent walker and all crap like that. So she had one then, and she's always been very sensible. You know, we've always been very open with her about everything, about, you know, the types of people in the world. You know, we've always been quite open about asking her to give us if she has any questions, and she'll tend to talk to me more about those types of things than necessarily Joe, because Joe's not really a techie person. I like to think of myself as, you know, I know my way around a tweet and stuff like that. So she's always been like that. We've been very fortunate. There hasn't really been any issues about cyberbullying or any crap like that. You know, she does go. I know she does TikToks and stuff like that. A lot of it is closed, so it's in closed groups. So they share TikToks with one another rather than necessarily with a group. You can select a certain number of type of people that you can. But it is always a concern. But I think it's about how you set your stall out early doors. You know, I mean, kids nowadays, I mean, we went when we was on holiday, when we was in Florida, I remember it particularly because we were going into Sephora and she was asking for things that Joe had no idea what they were, makeup things. And obviously that's come from social media. That's come from TikToks and YouTubes and get ready with me things. And so her knowledge of what beauty products to get and, is incredible, but that's just part and parcel, It's a bit annoying listening to the fucking American high-pitched squeals on roadblocks and videos and YouTube stuff, but she's always been very, really sensible. We've always been quite open with her, and we've been lucky. There's obviously that program on Channel 4 now about the school where they've stopped the mobile phones, and some of them are some real horror stories, but we've been fortunate enough to not have any issues like that. And I just think it's about being open and honest, really, and I think not same as everything, really, same as sex and stuff like that. It's about being
open
with these types of things. But yeah.
So, Cal, was you saying something?
No, sorry. I said it's about being open, isn't it? It's about giving them the platform to be able to talk about it and talk about, what they're thinking or what they're seeing, or, I think 12 is such a, not a difficult year, but it's, what is she, year 8? Is she year 8 in school?
Yeah, year 8 now.
She's year 8. Yeah, so
she's at all girls as well. She's at all girls school.
Okay.
As well, so there's not so much of the boys issue, but girls are just as bitchy as can be, just as bitchy.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's such a they're just starting to find themselves, aren't they? They're not kids anymore in the sense of like primary school, and as you just said, it's now getting into makeup and how they view themselves and others view them. And it's a transition year into them finding themselves ultimately, isn't it? It's about their expression of themselves, and how, like I say, how other people view them, and it can be for some people very, very difficult. But it's nice to hear that you've given Flo the platform to be able to have them difficult conversations. I only say this because I work in a school environment, and I am with year 8 children, and a lot of them fall back on myself and a lot of the staff at school to have these conversations because they can't do that at home. But
I think the only issue we get, and that's for me the one thing I'm sort of learning is sort of dealing with trying to know you've got a prepubescent hormonal 12-year-old girl, and then you've got a 40-something-year-old woman going into the menopause, and so you're sort of they do clash, and so it's sort of trying to, as I said, act almost like the referee, so to speak, and it is basically like they're fighting each other because they're so similar in they're both bloody single-minded, and they both are adamant that they're right in every argument. And so things like getting ready, if we're going out, Flo will put something on which she thinks looks lovely, and Joe doesn't think looks nice, and they'll clash over that. And then it will end up going from 0 to 100 very, very quickly, and everyone's crying and screaming at each other. And so that's the only things we have, is every time we're going to go out, I am slightly nervous and tentative, because I think it's almost like on a knife edge, whether we're going to go out without a row or whether we're going to have a massive, massive row between the two of them, and I'm stuck in the middle. But hey,
that's
just don't go out.
That's encouraging words for me.
Just don't go out. Simple, innit? Just don't go out. Just get a takeaway.
Adam's now got the cold sweats because he knows what he's like.
Mate, cold. Mate, I'm sweating so much I've had to take my socks off.
I mean, both are very strong strong women. We grew up. We brought up Flo to be very independent and very strong-minded and stuff like that. And sometimes it's to our detriment because it's like both of them are shouting at a mirror, and you sit there like, oh God. And then you've got Joe going, aren't you going to back me up?
I'm going to go do a podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Got to take. Sorry. It's
a Morals interview.
Scott Minto. So I've got to talk to Scott Minto. There we go. Yeah, that's probably So sometimes I do come down to just think, do you know what? I'm going to just steam. Just come down and I've got to talk about Lucas Paqueta and the betting allegations. And that sort of diffuses the situation, and they'll come back up and they're happy as pie in 5 minutes time. It's just.
Is Flo a West Ham fan? I'm just guessing she is.
Well, by birth she is. She's been to one game when we lost 5-1 to Newcastle, and it was fucking cold. And then she basically spent most of the game up in the box with me, and Joe was outside on her phone. I have taken her along to some of the youth team games, with Mark Noble's son's just a year older than Flo, so he's sometimes there. So, you've got Danny Dyer and Jared Bowen. Maybe Mark Noble could be Flo's father-in-law. It never work out, but no, she don't mind the youth team game. I think she quite likes going to the youth team games. Obviously, it's boys, isn't it? She doesn't really have much interaction with boys really now, and she likes Ollie Scarles, but he's a few of him. But she's. By birth, she's a West Ham fan, but she's not a football-y person.
Is she into the women's game much?
No, we went to a couple of women's games. It's not really something which particularly floats her boat. Sporting, she's not a very sporty person. She doesn't see the point in playing netball. In that, she sort of came home. To
be fair, she's got a point.
She said, well, "Why do you have to stand still when you got the ball?" I don't get it. I think she obviously played a lot of sport at school, so football is something that I think she bears. But the fact is, it's the first period on a Friday, so she doesn't like that. But no, not really a football-y person. So that's like my complete escape, really. They don't really know what's going on. We had one day we had. I interviewed Michael Hughes here, and he turned up at the door, and like the mother-in-law was there, Joe was there. They didn't have a fucking clue who he was. He walked in, they offered him a sausage sandwich. They still didn't have an idea who he was. Came down and she went, "Who was that bloke?" Went, "He prevented Man United winning the title, and Blackburn Rovers won it in 1990." No, okay, no props.
But also stopped us getting promoted as well.
Exactly, yeah. But gloss over that one. But they don't really know what I do. They don't really know, it's all, it's nice because it means they can have time together as well. If I've got a football game, they can go out to, that's where they're at the cinema today, has seen Wicked. So there'll be another 3.5 hours, probably. All that fucking thing is. It's no interest in her at all. She sometimes used to like during the summer holidays, and we're doing a live show. She'd sit in the background because she likes people saying hello to her. She liked that, but that was it. That was all.
Didn't she sing at one point when you was on?
She is a singer, so that's the thing. She is. I mean, she's a good singer. She does singing lessons, and she's just got the lead in this school production of Matilda. And this year she's sung at Shaftesbury Theatre and the O2, and she is a good singer, and she's a really good singer. We try and go. We try and one thing we like doing is going to gigs. So she goes to a lot of gigs and stuff as well. So. Music's really important. She loves music, and same as I love music as well. So, but she is I think she'd like to do singing full time, but I think she's a bit of a realist as well and wants to be a teacher as well. Cal,
don't do it.
Primary school. She wants to be a primary school teacher.
Don't do it. I've worked 15 years in primary school as well. Don't do that either.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's kick on to. Let's say current affairs, really. So obviously we'll touch back onto football. So as an outsider, Russ, what's your current thoughts on Arsenal at the moment? Obviously they purchased our Golden Academy player last year for 105 million, and Rob keeps reminding me how much they still owe us money for him. I'm pretty sure you've heard that multiple times. But what's your current thoughts on Arsenal over the past couple of years since Rice has been there?
Well, I think he was one of the pieces that they needed. I always used to play Arsenal. I always liked that game because it was always. I always found them really easy to wind up. Like not the fans, but the players, they were quite petulant. I'm thinking like the time, like Flamini and people like that. You thought if someone put someone on him, they'd go a bit one way. But now they're a much stronger side. Yeah. I mean, they bought really well. I mean, it was perfect for them, absolutely perfect for what they needed. I still think I think the same as most, but I still think to have any chance. Well, it's not really compete for Man City anymore, but to really sort of have any chance of really going for it, I still think they need that striker. But I think everyone needs that striker, But I think they bought well, frustratingly well. As I said, last year we didn't really miss him as much because I think we still had the euphoria of the European win, and we still had David Moyes and but we really miss him this year.
Yeah,
really miss him this year. He would have solved all of our problems this year, I guarantee, from a midfield perspective. And last year we didn't miss him so much, but this year we really did miss him for that transitional period. But I think Arsenal are doing well, and they'll always be there or thereabouts now. And it's how long, getting to that next stage now, isn't it? It's getting to the next stage. They sort of hit the ceiling of where they need. Now it's consistently going for the Premier League, consistently going long in Champions League. That's the next step. And I think they need. I still think they need that striker. But in the same way, I still think, I'm looking at the table now, and it's like Liverpool really have. They've shared the goals around a bit. To be honest, they really haven't got the out and out striker, haven't they? So they've got 3 or 4 really good attacking options. But you sort of see how the Man City model worked with Haaland and. A lot of good, Aston Villa, Ollie Watkins and good sort of strikers. Just think Ollie Watkins at Arsenal would bag 25 goals easy, and that may be the difference in terms of getting him in a, consistently in that sort of top spot, top 1 and 2. But it's going to be. I think it's I think statistically the most open Premier League season at the moment already, in terms of points and between top and bottom. And it really is.
That's something to do. Do you think that's something to do with the level of investment by the clubs? I mean, I saw a tweet earlier today saying how the Premier League competitiveness gap is kind of closing when you've got the likes of Bournemouth, Fulham, and Nottingham Forest in the top 8. And someone pointed out, well, they did spend £1 billion between them to get there. Do you think that obviously the PSR rules and the FFP have kind of almost made it a level playing field by restricting other clubs' spending?
Kind of, yeah, kind of. I think it just, when you look at Bournemouth, and I mean when we played them on Monday, you looked at their 11. Our 11 pisses on them on paper. From a player to player, I just think, but it's coaching. They've got a really good coach. Forest have got a really good coach. Espirito Santo is a good coach, but he had to be given time. He is a good coach. He did a good job at Wolves on a lesser budget. Didn't do such a good job at Spurs, but he's a decent coach. Arne Slot's a good coach. Maresca's a good coach. Yeah, Marco Silva. You've got Arteta. You've got they're all good coaches. I think that's it. I mean, they're all getting well coached and actually buying into a system and buying the right players for a system. Bournemouth wanted to play a certain way, so they bought the players to play that certain way rather than shoehorning them in. And it's taken a while for them to get there, but they're a decent side. They're 6th in the league after 16 games. They could have been 5th if they beat us. Forest as well. I mean, Forest will drop a little bit because there's always that one year. There's always that one team each year who does sort of breaks away from the pack, but they'll drop back in. I'm sure Forest will drop back in soon.
That's what happened to Hull City, wasn't it? At one point they were 4th in the league, weren't they? And then they got relegated.
Yeah, exactly. It happened to us as well, wasn't it? You know, we were riding high and fourth a couple of times, and then sort of the league finds itself. Brighton were top of the league, weren't they? Beginning of the season, they dropped down to just above 9th and 10th now. So it's just
That's
a
what I'm hoping
strange
happens to
season.
Liverpool.
Yeah, I think every Arsenal fan, and I know a few Liverpool fans, and they're like, "Oh, you ready for the celebratory, the Premier League celebrations just before Christmas?" And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't count your chickens just yet, mate.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so much there. I mean, you look. I wouldn't necessarily say I think because everybody spent money. It's just how the money's been spent. You can spend £1 billion, but if you're not spending £1 billion on the right players, then you're just pissing up a wall, really. I think sometimes people, same with some of our purchasing in the summer probably wasn't the best, and it's coming to roost a little bit now. But I think sometimes needs must, and I think you look at some of the other clubs. I just think there's so many things. There isn't usually by now one team would be running away with it. The last sort of few years, one team tends to run away with it. Whether they get caught at the end is another thing. I mean, even like between Liverpool and Chelsea, it's like 2 points. No Liverpool game in hand, but it's so close at the moment. You get a run of 3 or 4 wins in a row, and you're top 4, top 5. It's mental at the moment, absolutely mental, and everyone's beating everyone. I mean, Palace beat Brighton the other day. Did not see that one coming.
No.
I mean, this is why it's best. This is why it's the best league in the world, isn't it? Let's be honest. For that exact reason, every game is competitive and every game means something. How many times we heard already this season, "Oh, the league's finished now," or "Oh no, they've been." You know what I mean? Like it's never, and it's never ending. Every weekend's exciting because you just don't know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So this is why we're blessed to live here, but also live through this era of players wanting to come here and money being spent here and the revenues and everything else. It just makes everything so exciting. And just touching on Declan Rice, I'm only going to echo what probably every Arsenal fan says is I can't believe we've got him. And I know that you hate that. I know Adam's heard that so many times. He hates me saying it, but I do generally believe I can't believe we got him. And again with the striker, who do you get in? I think everyone wants a 30 goal, 25 goal striker. I know Haaland's done it the last few seasons, Salah, but
he's a freak, though, isn't he, Haaland?
Yeah, they're few and far between. They're so hard to get in, and players. People try and spend big money to get players in, and then they don't do it.
Work,
so
yeah.
they don't work. Do you know what I mean? So.
I don't think West Ham have ever had a successful striker, have they, Russ? In the Golden Sullivan era. Obviously, you've done a post on that about how many strikers they've had, haven't they? And
yeah, we're shocking, and it
just so happens that our most successful goal scorer we bought was a right back, and he's got the most Premier League goals in our entire history. So it's so hard to kind of find that right fit up top, isn't it? But also you got to play the right formation to get the best out of them, haven't you, as well? And
it's about buying the right players. It's like if you're I mean, I still don't know what Lopetegui ball really is, and you're buying players. It's like, well, we're looking at we're definitely going to be buying a striker in January. Okay, so who are we going to buy? And it someone gives you 4 different names. They're 4 different completely different strikers. How can you if they were all built like Antonio and they were all Antonio type players, then at least there's a strategy behind it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, but then the trouble is because there's no sort of club aren't going to come out and say, oh, yeah, we're going to try and buy you sort of all these players get linked. And you go, well, they're all totally different, and then we'll get someone in, and we're like, well, that's not what we need. We've got him already, and we got him, and we've got him, and it's. I think that the fact is we've lost a few managers in the Premier League already, and I think that straight away freshens it all up even more so now. The Leicester under Steve Cooper is a different Leicester than under Ruud van Nistelrooy, and your Christ knows whatever his name is from Al Sharab's going to be like for Wolves, and Southampton still haven't got anyone really lined up for their job yet. Although guaranteed they'll have someone in place by Boxing Day, because obviously they play West Ham, and we always play every new manager. We Van Nistelrooy's new side. We're probably the new Southampton boss's new team for the bounce. I find it really interesting. We go in on Saturday. I mean, obviously you guys, Arsenal got Palace away, should be a win, but then Palace beat Brighton the other day, so fuck knows what's going to go. A 5:30 kickoff at Selhurst Park, London derby. You just don't know. I'm looking down the list of fixtures, and it's like you can't pick a banker anymore now. You can't. It's like even Man United, Bournemouth will fancy that one. It's like, it's even Ipswich, Newcastle. Bolton Road easily could turn you. We turned them over at their gaff. We look like fucking Brazil against them. So, anything happens, and that's what's so exciting. So exciting about the Premier League. You can see why, brands want to be part of it. You can see why Sky and that lot want to pay so much money for it, because it is so even a Fulham v Southampton could be an incredible game. Love it.
It reminds me of David Mitchell sketch where it goes, we'll talk about the football and the football zone, and we've got the football.
Yeah.
But also the beauty with it, I think even Bob Mortimer said this on a Desert Island Discs episode, and he just said he loves football so much, but it will just never end. It will be the always constant in his life that football will just never end. And you think, actually, no, it won't. There's no end point. There's always a start point. You think, oh no, football's finished now. We'll go and move on to something else. But football just continues all the time. It just keeps getting better and better. But yeah, go on, Cal. What was you going to say?
No, I was just going to emphasise what I said earlier. I mean, we are lucky to be living in and it be at a pinnacle, or I say a pinnacle at our level, because I'm sure it will reach more, as we get older. But to watch it week in, week out, and the joy it brings, and also the misery it brings as well. We are, we're blessed, aren't we? Let's be honest. To have that, be on that roller coaster, and our kids.
He's actually gone. His phone's actually died.
Right. I just see all these messages there. Oh yeah, he was on a roll, but this tends to happen with Cal.
Oh, bless him.
Well, yeah. So obviously we've pretty much touched on everything, Russ. I mean, I think thank you for spending the time and coming on and share your life stories with us. And I know airing a lot of personal stuff is quite hard to do on podcasts.
Oh, I'm used to it. I'm used. I mean, the fact is that my whole life has been on YouTube for the last 3 or 4 years. Everyone knows about this and that and this and that. But it's
I think that's probably why you got more of the following, because it just comes across more of a personal sort of viewing, isn't it? Because every time when I get an alert when you post a video or whatever, I'm like, oh, Russ is talking to me today, and that's what it comes across like. You're talking to me. You're not talking to like a camera. You're actually talking to the person, the viewer, effectively. So that's what always kind of steered back, because it's so relatable and personal, really. So
thank you. That's what we try and do. That's what we try and do. And we like, we don't take ourselves too seriously, and because there's no point taking life too seriously. You're only here for a 3 score and 10, and so it's important to sort of enjoy it. If you don't do anything you enjoy, if you didn't enjoy doing this, it comes across. People know when you don't, or if you've created a video just for creating a video's sake, it's just it's obvious. You can see people just going through the motions. That's not what we do. So sometimes sometimes it is hard. Sometimes I mean, I must be totally different to everyone else, it seems, because everyone else, like Holly's had some troubles obviously recently, so she's family stuff, so she's not done so much recently. Anton's at the moment, he was stranded on a fucking island for 3 days over the weekend in Scotland, and he's got a lot of stuff going on in terms of his house and family and stuff, and so he sometimes dips in and out. But I just carry on going. I don't know what it is. But it's my release. It's my opportunity to talk about what I love, and that is the football club I love. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy debate. I enjoy listening to people. It's sort of what I do as a job anyway. I do sales, so I'm used to selling and talking and listening, and it's fun rather than market research. So it's more interesting, and I love doing it. And it gives me routine as well. I'm a very routine person, and knowing that I do Monday, Thursday, Friday, and then Anton does a Tuesday, and Holly does a Wednesday. And match day, I'm at the ground at 9 o'clock, and I'll do an hour. Then I've got to go in and and work at West Ham, and then afterwards, I like routine. I like doing that. Just so I think my mental health. To be honest, I don't like surprises. I don't like if we're going on. I try and sort of mitigate any surprises. Just because try and be planned. My Christmas presents are wrapped. My decorations are out on the 10th of November. I'm done. I'm ready for Christmas. So some people aren't like that. That's what I'm.
Oh, talk of surprises. You said you had a game of TENABLE that we can play.
I did, yeah. Go on. I'll do one round. We'll do one round. I did
test me because I was going to come on to your show the other day, but I was at work, so you know what it's like, mate.
I know what it's like. Right, let me sort it out. Yeah. So
I've just seen here that Spurs have beaten Man United 4-3.
Yeah, it was a close game. It was a close game, apparently. So I thought, being Christmas, you might have to add my screen in so you can see it.
Yeah.
Being Christmas, I thought I'd do Christmas related. No, and it was to me a while to think of something decent. So I thought I saw an article, and it says the top 10 Christmas movies of all time, which have made the most music money since they've been released. So it's the top 10, right? We'll end up going through them all anyway, but top 10. So, what do you think of the top 10? And it's in order. So you don't have to get them in order, but you have to get them in order. So top 10. So since they've been released, basically.
Yeah, okay. Just for the record, I think you're a lot shorter than the current host of TENABLE.
A little bit, yeah. I haven't been Harry Potter and Willow, unfortunately, or extras.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I must admit, I love Warwick Davis, so I like him a lot.
He's top man.
Top highest earning Christmas movies, top 10.
This is gross, like worldwide gross, like money.
I think the one off the top of my head would probably be Elf.
Elf. Okay, let's see where Elf is. If it's in the top 10, of course. Let's have a look. Where is it when it wants to work? 8th. So Elf is only 8th. Elf only took £177 million equivalent.
Jesus, there's 7 more grossing films than Elf.
There is. All Christmas movies. I've taken out the debatable Christmas movies. So like Die Hards and Batman Returns, they're not in here. These are all Christmas movies.
Okay. Well, Home Alone.
Home Alone. Let's have a look. Where's Home Alone in the list? If it's in the list, of course. Home Alone 1 is second.
Home Alone 2.
Home Alone 2, he says. Is Home Alone 2 in the top 10 list? Let's have a look. Number 3.
God, something's more gross in Home Alone.
It is. And it's, to be honest, it surprised me until I'm thinking about it, until I went to America.
Yeah.
If I hadn't thinking of for Chris.
I'm thinking of the film that's in Home Alone 2. I can't think of what it's called. The black and white film where Angel gets its wings.
It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. It's not the film. No. It's not that film. No.
Oh, okay.
It's not that. It's very Christmas, you filthy animal. No, it's not that.
Not that one. The one in Home Alone 2.
It does feature in one of the movie. It's not the actual movie, but it does feature in the first Home Alone, I think. He does watch one of these movies.
Yeah, 'cause I'm sure there's a scene
No,
where
you're right. It's Home Alone
they're in
2.
Florida.
It's
Yeah,
Home Alone 2. You are right. It is in Home Alone
I
2.
can't remember what it's called.
It's not that. Yeah, it's not that actual movie, but it is the franchise that movie comes from. And honestly, until I went to America over Christmas, I would not have even thought about it. But they go fucking mental for this one, and that's probably where most of the money's come from. Is the States. But we'll move along. Move along. There's other
National
ones.
Lampoons.
No, it's
Vacation.
not in the top 10. Not in the top 10.
Lost a life. Lost a heart.
Yeah.
This is harder than I thought. You think there's so many at the top of your head, but now I've got
I'm
lives
looking
at
at it,
stake.
and I guarantee that you probably would have watched a couple of these, maybe with the kids, maybe.
Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Let's have a look. Is that in the list? It is.
Yeah.
10.
Now you got the other two films there, haven't you? So Santa Claus 2, Santa Claus 3.
They're not. They're not in it. They're not in it.
Okay.
They're not as good as the first one. The first one was the best.
This is really testing me. This.
So two of them.
I thought, this would be easy. When you're in it, it's like,
exactly. When you're in it, it's easy when you know the answers, Adam. Right. So
Muppet
we've
Christmas Carol.
Now I don't know if that. I'm gonna give you that, but I don't know if it's the Muppet Christmas Carol. I don't think it is. It might be the original Christmas Carol, but that's in there. But it could be the Muppet. I can't remember, to be honest. But yeah, Christmas Carol. I'll give you that. Yeah.
To be fair, the Muppets one is the only one I'd know.
It is good, but I think it might be it might be the original one. That's been around for a long time. That's probably why it's earned so much money.
Polar Express.
We've got Polar Express. Oh, here we go. He's warming up now. Let's have a look. Polar Express. Yeah. There we go. £252 million.
Jesus, I can't believe that there's one more than Home Alone.
Yeah, exactly. And it earned 25, 35, about £50 million more.
Jesus,
mental, isn't it? It's the amount of money. It's like Home Alone has grossed £375 million.
Okay,
and this top one, £418 million. And actually, 1 and 4 are the same franchise. Well, not or the same brand. We've also got, and then 7 and 9. 7 and 9 are romantic comedies, but Christmas.
I've got one. Love Actually. Then
Love Actually's got it there. Yeah, my mother-in-law watches that in July.
The other one's got to be The Holiday then.
Well done. There you go. Yeah. The Holiday. And I'll give you the others because you're not going to get them. Number 1.
Go for it. I'll give it. I've
one,
done well. Get 8.
Yeah, done well. Number 1 is The Grinch.
Oh, of course it is.
The cartoon.
Loves that.
Yeah, the cartoon. But they go, honestly, it's like, I remember when I was in Orlando, we went to Universal Studios and there was a Grinch meet and greet. And I was there on rope drop because you had to be in the park to then get on the list, so to speak. And it was mental. And number 4 is the
Jim Carrey version.
Exactly, how the Grinch Stole Christmas. There we go.
Wow.
We can play one more.
Yeah.
We can play one more if you want to play one more game.
Yeah, go for it. If you've got time, mate.
I've got time for you.
Well, your family are watching Wicked, so you've got loads of time.
They've probably got another 3.5 hours, haven't they? They're probably home, but I don't know. They're probably home now. That's why
my wife is going to kill me knowing that I didn't get the Grinch because I've been watching the Grinch probably every day.
Yeah,
just because my daughter loves it.
Like, they go absolutely mental. It's crazy. Obviously, they got Zeusland at Universal, they love the Grinch. Okay, so this one is the 10 most streamed Christmas songs on Spotify as of December. Right. This is according to some.
Is it
website.
This year?
It's the up until this year. So, in its lifetime, in that song's lifetime on Spotify, and the numbers are mental.
Okay. Last Christmas.
Wham! Last Christmas. Let's have a look. What we got? Where's that? Last Christmas is number 2. 1.67 billion streams.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Have you seen the Wham documentary?
I saw the one on a while ago, but I haven't. There's a new one about Last Christmas, isn't there, on BBC? But there's I think it's just come on, but there was one. Yeah, I saw the Wham documentary on. I think it was Netflix, wasn't it?
Yeah, Netflix. Yeah,
really good.
When they were he just run upstairs, didn't he? And he just put the lyrics together, and he went, "Yeah, it's done."
Yeah, well, that's like
10 minutes.
That's like the Beatles. If there's that massive documentary, it's on Disney Plus, and they're filming them, recording the album. They're just like, this guy's like, Paul McCartney's like, hey Jude, don't be so bad. And you just see him just make this Hey Jude, like how they just sat by the piano making these songs. It's mental, mental.
It's crazy. All I want. Oh, what's it? All I Want for Christmas is You.
Let's have a look.
That's on the list.
Let's have a look. It's going up. It's going up. It's the top one.
There we go.
Almost 2 billion downloads, streams.
I wanted to scream Chris Jericho just then. Just make the list.
Just make the list.
Cool. What one's is there now? I want to say I'm gonna go for a tactical one here because of Justin Bieber. So Under the Mistletoe.
Nice. You're right. Yes, number 9. Exactly. This is global, so this is America, as obviously.
This is global. I want to go for a Bublé. What Bublé one? Santa Claus Coming to Town, Bublé?
No, that's not in there.
Oh.
The Bublé one, it's where's the Bublé? I'll give you the Bublé one. There is one Bublé one. Of course there is. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah. That's always the start on his album, though, to be fair.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah, it's default.
I will play the album. Oh, it starts with that.
Yeah. And you get bored by the Jingle Bells one.
I'll say Band-Aid.
No, Band-Aid isn't on that. No, there's a couple of ones which I'm surprised are not in it, but then I'm thinking, well, it's because it's global. So although that's one which is really synonymous with the UK, so there's no Wizard, there's no Slade, none of them, because they're really, and same as Band-Aid, really. That's just very much British.
War is Over.
No, that's not in. No, it's not in either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll give one more guess, and then you have to. Because
this is really riveting.
mate, you ain't heard the rest of our podcast. Come on, Santa Baby.
Santa Baby. No, that's not in there either. I think the reason is because a lot of these songs get covered. So Santa Baby, you've got the original Eartha Kitt, you've got Madonna, you've got Michael Bublé, you've got
Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue, Ariana Grande. So then that all gets sort of split up. Right, so let's go through it. So we've got third. We're going in order. So from 10th is Feliz Navidad.
Oh, right, yeah.
And again, that makes sense because it's global. It's going to be fucking the whole South America, pretty much.
That's that number 9 we've been after, mate.
Exactly. Yeah, I've heard he's quite. He's quite tasty in the final third. Right. Next, number 8 is it's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Ad Newham. It's the most wonderful time. Then 7 is Jingle Bell Rock.
Yeah.
And again, American, but also then it gets every time fucking Mean Girls and shit like that's on, isn't it? Because it's some part of that. Next is a random one, relatively modern one, but it's had over 1 billion, is Snowman by Sia. So again, like it's a bit. It's because that's why I like this one, because there was so many like random ones in it. What we got, number 4 is Rocking Around the Christmas Tree.
Yeah.
by Brenda Lee. But actually, if you listen to that, I'm going to ruin this song for you forever. So when you listen to the song, and we'll go and have some pumpkin pie, listen to it again and think she's saying fucking pie, and you can't get it out of your brain now. All right, next time you listen to it.
To be honest, I prefer the Melwin. Or is it the Melwin Kim?
Yeah.
Version.
Yeah, we'll buy some fucking pie. My daughter told me that, and from then on, I've never been able to get rid of it. The same as what is it? It's the One Direction song, and at the beginning it goes, "You're in the car," but it sounds like a German singing it, or something like that. It's anyway. The last one is, and again, it's the third most, but it's 1.15 billion streams, and it's a modern one as well, and it wants to come up. Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
How mental is that?
Yeah, that we're just showing our age, mate, now, aren't we?
Well, it's just
forgetting
crazy.
These modern songs.
It's crazy. It's just really crazy. But yeah, there we go.
Oh, thanks for that, Russ. That's really good. Yeah, I probably won't come on your stream now after it's completely ruined my confidence.
It's a bit different when it's West Ham.
Yeah, don't ask any architecture questions either, because I'm absolutely clueless. Well, anyway, Russ, thanks for coming on our show, and hopefully we can chat in the new year and try and get you on again, and we'll do something a bit more, not more fun. That sounded so wrong.
Can't have more fun.
No, thanks again, mate. It's much appreciated, and hope you have a good Christmas and a New Year.
You, man. You too, and all the listeners have a lovely Christmas and a New Year, guys.
And there we have it. That was Russ Budden from the West Ham Network. Again, thank you once again to all our listeners and subscribers, to our YouTube channel and Twitter and Spotify accounts. Your support this year has been greatly appreciated. Callum's not here to say thank you because his battery died on his phone, but and Rob's out. But I'll speak on behalf of Dad's Job crew and say thank you for your support. Please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the new year. We're going to have a nice break now. Enjoy Christmas, enjoy the new year, and then hit the ground running when everyone's back to work, really. Have a good Christmas, and we'll speak to you soon. See ya.